and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment too. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show on this fabulous Thursday. We are very excited because it's the end of the week. It's been a big couple of weeks for us at the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show with our Eye on Big Brother podcast. It's all come to an end. David Robinson and Ben Norris, can you feel a sense of relief?
Oh, yeah. It's like, you know, when you go and you haven't peed for a long time and then you pee and it's that rush of relief. But you know what, to be honest though, I will actually kind of miss it. I think, you know, we'll be into next week and go, we wish it was back. No?
I think Ben will enjoy getting some sleep and I will enjoy not be constantly running in here. Yeah, no, I'm willing. I'm happy to get out of the garage for a bit. I mean, the McKnight Tonight Studios. This isn't a garage at all.
Yeah. No. Awesome.
I felt like we've gone through the garage. You know, when you're playing cards and you overbet? Yeah, that's what it's like.
Well, look, there's a lot happening today. We will be speaking to the winner of Chad from Big Brother. And even if you're not a Big Brother fan, this will help you get across what's happened. And also, we're going to try and get some juicy information out of him. And Joe Casamento will be bringing us a combined movies and entertainment segment. We're going to give her the time to go through everything that's happening. But first, let's get into some breaking news. And we begin with a COVID update from Victoria. Premier Daniel Andrews hosted a media conference a short time ago. Here's some of what he had to say.
Thanks for joining us for the daily update. First things first, we have 7,125 cases. That's 403 new cases since we last reported to you. That's 3,630 active cases across the state. I am very sad to have to report to you that 49 people have now died. That's 5 additional fatalities due to this virus since yesterday. I can't provide too much detail about each of those, but to the extent that I can, let me just run through those 5 individuals. There is a male in his 50s. There is a female in her 70s connected to aged care, an aged care setting. A male in his 80s, again connected to aged care. A male in his 90s connected to aged care. And a further male in his 70s not connected. So the person in his 50s and the person in his 70s are not connected to aged care settings. We send our best wishes and our support to each of those families. This will be a terribly challenging time for them. They're in our thoughts and prayers. Of those 403 cases, 69 are connected to known and contained outbreaks. 334 are under investigation by our public health team. There are 201 Victorians in hospital. 40 of those are in intensive care.
So just to recap, 403 new cases have been reported. 5 people have lost their lives in the past 24 hours, and the state has just surpassed 1.4 million tests. So it would appear the curve is beginning to climb again. Australia recorded its highest ever COVID cases yesterday, with 502 people being diagnosed. There were 484 in Victoria and 16 in New South Wales. There are growing fears that New South Wales will follow in the footsteps of Victoria. The Health Minister has hinted that masks will soon be mandatory for being on public transport in Sydney. Robbo, why are we dragging our feet on masks?
I don't know why. Like, it just should be that the fact that we're waiting for the New South Wales Health Minister to possibly or probably announce that we're getting masks on public transport. Shouldn't we have been doing this like ages ago? If you've ever been on public transport in any major city, especially in peak hour, you can't really social distance. I just think this is great. Like, we've dragged our feet and now we're paying the price for it. That's what I think.
Ben, let me ask you this. We are seeing a situation where there is growing momentum against Dan Andrews and he is being blamed. Are people not taking responsibility from the point of view they're not doing the right thing, and now they're going to blame the Premier because they haven't been doing the right thing here?
I haven't actually noticed that. I think, there was a little bit of a time, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was the start of last week, but, I think people have stopped saying bad things about Daniel Andrews here
Not
in
in the
Victoria.
media, they haven't. There's many articles around today suggesting that his days are numbered and that he will feel the political pressure and that the pressure is on him and people are blaming him.
Yeah, I guess people always want to find someone to blame. It's the whole, painting someone as the hero and the villain, I guess. But I actually don't think Dan Andrews has done the wrong thing moving forward. I think he did the wrong thing with the people that he employed to protect Victoria. I think that was the issue. But then moving beyond that, I think he is showing great leadership. I think he's updating us with information. But I have to say, a large part of the community of people say, oh, I'm wearing the masks or wear the masks. But, just like the Minister for Health, when he put the mask on for the first time, it wasn't until I kind of had that aha moment. When you put the mask on for the first time, you are a little bit uncomfortable when you do it incorrectly. And so I wonder, guys, whether or not you think he'd never actually put a mask on before, because it was an interesting moment to have on television that he's the Minister for Health, and then he tries to demonstrate something, and he couldn't put the mask on properly.
You would have thought he would rehearse that to within an inch of his life. He gets one shot in front of the media. Yes, it's a very valid point. But look, let me bring this interesting information in. Flu deaths have dropped dramatically in Australia thanks to COVID-19 restrictions. From January to June this year, there were only 36 deaths from the flu compared with 430 during the same period last year. Experts say it's because of the lockdown measures, including social distancing, schools being closed and better hygiene. Ben, are there lessons we can learn long-term about this? Social distancing and our hygiene issues seem to be a good way going forward, don't they?
Well, I think it's really interesting that you make this point. I mean, I did say this a few weeks ago in a conversation with my friends. I said, I wonder what social distancing is going to abolish because, we are going to see a sign of the times being changed. A lot of people discussing how we interact is never going to go back to the same way. The 9-to-5ers are not going to probably ever go back to that 9-to-5 Monday to Friday routine. A lot of people will be now working from home, handshakes and things like that, which, people are saying, what are we going to replace the handshake with? Maybe it's not the elbow tap. Maybe we'll take a page out of the Japanese, out of Japan's book, and we'll bow at people. Interestingly enough, we are going to change the way that we interact with people, and that means that things like the flu, which is transmitted pretty much the same way as COVID, are probably going to fall by the wayside.
Robbo, would you be happy to see handshakes go and kiss on the cheek? I'll tell you what, I won't be sad to see kiss on the cheeks go because the one thing I always get confused when I have a meeting or catch up with a female person is whether the kiss on the cheek is acceptable. Television is one of those industries where it happened, but I did have an occasion recently where I did the TV thing, even though I'm a little uncomfortable with it, and she'd gone in for the handshake. And it was just awkward as. And this was a very big, a big executive at a network.
I would think that if you knew the person, you need to meet them, let's say, minimum 3 times before you're able to do the kiss on the cheek. Look, going back to this situation here, we're not going to social distance forever. It's just not going to happen. So we will see flu deaths rise again. The handshake will return. The handshake is already really back. It didn't really leave. Obviously, in Victoria, that's a different story. But this is just one of those things. Flu and things like it are a part of human life. It's a part of the universe. If you know what I'm trying to say there, that's what it is to be human. That's what it is to live on this planet. Obviously, we can do things where COVID-19 is very contagious and things like that. We should do that. But this is part of the course, isn't it, of living, is that there will be things that we get sick from. We can't stop every single sickness ever.
I think you made a bit of a slip there. There was a bit of a missing link in the chain. And I think that when you say, oh, the handshake has never really left, are you telling me that you're still shaking people's hands?
In Queensland, I am, yeah.
Well, yep. I'm pretty sure that that's a bad idea. Even though you're in Queensland, I'm telling you, lots of different people in the other states are making all these comments about Victoria, but I do see Victoria as being a state that is basically a trial case for how Australia is going to need to adapt and adopt a lot of these things. So, I'm going to just say to you, and to anyone that's out there listening, not Victorians, but right across Australia, handshakes are done. Like, as in, don't be shaking people's hands. Like, you have no idea who you're coming into contact with. And, these things you're probably right about the flu. You're probably right about the flu in the sense that the flu will probably come back, but it has dropped because of the amount of lack of contact that we have adopted.
Can I also just say...
I take that on board. I really do.
And one thing to put you off shaking people's hands, I have seen so many men go to the urinal and not wash their hands that I am so happy not to shake people's hands because men are disgusting. Disgusting.
What about those photos of those ladies that are at the petrol pump? Have you ever seen those memes? Oh my God, they drive me nuts. They're actually kind of hilarious. There's like shots of them filling up the petrol, and while they're filling up the petrol, what do you do with the other hand? You shove it right down your crack, and then you go and touch everything. And it's you guys haven't seen it?
No, but I believe you.
Look,
I believe you.
I'll send them to you. I'll send them. Right. Yeah, I'll send them along.
Do you know
photos
what?
Of Chad.
There's actually an important story I'd like to cover today. So we're going to do something a little different because it was just a couple of months ago that protests erupted across the United States and the world after the death of George Floyd at the hands of police. Now, while it might have fallen off our radar, the protests have not stopped. In Portland, Oregon, they have continued almost nightly. Tensions continue to rise in the demand for change. Demonstrators and police have clashed, and there is news of federal officers in unmarked cars arresting people. President Trump is threatening to send this kind of law enforcement to more cities. Well, joining us to bring us up to speed with this story that we have completely forgotten is Garrison from Portland. Garrison, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me.
Look, you've been attending these protests. Can you bring us up to speed on the scenes you're experiencing there?
Yeah, so, we started... the protest started in late May, centered around like Black Lives Matter and the murder of George Floyd, and they've continued every single night all the way up to now. There's been for all of June, there was a lot of response from the Portland police. That's where they were mainly sending tear gas and stuff into the crowd almost nightly. Since July, we've gotten more of a federal presence going on. But yeah, this has been happening nonstop in Portland ever since May.
So, Garrison, I want to ask you, we've seen some pretty harrowing footage of the protests that you yourself have shot. Can you tell us what the tensions are like between police and citizens now?
Right now, it's mainly focusing on the federal officers. The last kind of Portland police-centric action or protest was on Friday. This is when people marched to the police union building. They lit a small fire inside, and then the police tear gassed them and pushed them back into residential neighborhoods. But what's been happening for conflicts is that the first after the first riot on the last Friday of May, there was really after that there was no really property damage done to the city besides that first riot night. And then police just continued to tear gas, though. So they didn't, even though the demonstrations were not causing property damage, they continued to tear gas as if property was continuing to be vandalized or windows broken. And this has always continued and hasn't ever stopped yet. And now a lot of people here are kind of thinking, they're gonna tear gas us anyway. We may as well kind of do something to provoke the police and to have some kind of act of resistance. Because they're going to be met with the same response either way.
So we really are facing a chicken and the egg scenario. You're going to get tear gassed anyway, so you guys are like, well, we've got nothing to lose.
Exactly. That especially since the federal troops have kind of taken over trying to manage the protests, that has absolutely escalated during July. Yesterday, the plywood covering up the windows of the federal courthouse was taken down. Someone lit one of the wooden boards on fire in front of the courthouse. Some windows were broken on the courthouse, but because on Friday, also at the same courthouse, a group of moms was tear gassed for doing nothing. They were just standing on the street, and then all these the next day on Saturday, this group of moms plus like 300 more plus 2,000 citizens of Portland all showed up, and you're like, well, if we're gonna get tear gassed just for standing, we may as well try to like take down parts of this wood on the building. So that's what we're seeing kind of happen now, is that the people of Portland are kind of less hesitant to mess with these government buildings. We still really haven't seen much violence against like any officers or any individuals besides like water bottles being thrown. I mean, I've seen a lot of water bottles. I saw some tomatoes yesterday being thrown.
At the police.
That's kind of like that's at the police, yeah. So that's the kind of that's a very kind of British old-timey way of handling
the violent protests
violence.
are actually getting a lot more notice than the peaceful protests? Because I've got to be honest, with COVID-19 has completely gripped the world, and the Black Lives Matter movement was really taking off with the death of George Floyd. And we in Australia were watching these scenes unfold live on air as police were going in. But here in Australia, this has really just gone completely off the radar. And so I am genuinely surprised to hear that this is still happening. During the time that we were focused on it, we had Australian journalists caught up in the police rage. You know, police were actually caught hitting and kicking journalists, Australian journalists, who then went and testified in Congress. You're a journalist yourself. What's your experience been, and is that still happening?
It's absolutely happening. Portland is actually the worst city for that. Portland is right now #1 in police brutality against people and journalists from the past 60 days. There was one of my friends, another journalist, was named Corey Elia, was arrested and charged with a felony for stating an officer's name on his live stream. He recognized the officer and said, "Oh, hey, that's Officer Bartlett." And he was immediately tackled by 3 officers, and he's charged with felony assault of an officer. So we've seen a lot of violence and intimidation from the police towards journalists. I mean, I've been hit with sticks. I've had tear gas shot at my body, like a canister hitting my body. I've been hit with rubber bullets, pepper bullets. I have a big bruise on my leg right now from last night. I was shot with a rubber bullet. And I mean, I'm clearly marked press. I have press on my helmet. I have multiple press badges now. So yeah,
but that's not making a difference, right? We've seen this time and time again.
Yeah.
Having the word press is not making a difference. So what's the solution here? How is this going to stop, or is this going to keep going until Donald Trump's not in office?
I think there's a fair chance these protests could keep going to that point and even beyond that point, because even when the federal troops pull out, we still have a lot of people in Portland upset at the Portland Police Bureau, which is being controlled by our mayor. So I think I don't see these dying down anytime soon. I mean, I don't think there's any plans for the federal troops to be pulled out, and as long as they're here, there's going to be people protesting them every night. I mean, we've seen thousands and thousands of people every day for the past week, including on weekdays, which is like crazy. To have 3,000 people out on a Tuesday night is just massive for like a protest movement that started in May, and we're now at the end of July.
So, Garrison, can you tell me a little bit about those unmarked cars that we're hearing about with possible federal agents who are arresting people? Do you know if that's legal, and how widespread is that?
The legality is questionable, because really there's no one that can really get these people in trouble, because these are a mix of Department of Homeland Security and a mix of Border Patrol people and U.S. Marshals that are conducting these. Some of them are arrests. Some of them are just temporary detainments. So basically just grabbing people off the street and holding them for hours and then just letting them go, usually trying to ask them questions so they can get any information out of them. But they've just been driving around in rental cars. They've just been renting cars in sedans, SUVs and minivans in Portland, and just driving around and picking up anyone that's kind of in the outskirts of the city. This started around July 13th, was the first night I saw this happen. And I mean, it's tricky. I mean, there's people, there's stuff in the United States Congress that are trying to get these things to stop. There's stuff in our local state government in Oregon that is trying to make these things not be allowed. But it's very difficult because these groups really have less accountability than even the police do. So wow. it's hard to determine the legality of these actions.
How is finally? How is COVID-19 affecting the protest movement over there? Because we have Black Lives Matter protests here, and there's a big controversy over the fact that they want more protests to go ahead. We've just had a second wave hit Victoria, which is feeding into New South Wales, where these Black Lives Matter protests are wanting to take place. They're saying they can social distance, wear masks and all that kind of stuff. But the government and police force is concerned, and our police force isn't like America, just to, to point that out.
Yeah.
But there is concern that this could lead to a spread. How is the Black Lives Matter protesters where you are dealing with that side of things?
So, I mean, everyone here are wearing masks when they're out. For all of the food stations or medical supplies, there's people always giving out hand sanitizer. And overall, it looks like the protests are not contributing largely to growth of infections. I mean, we were really tracking that the first few weeks of the protest in June, and I think after 3 weeks of protesting in June, of nights where there was 10,000 people in the street, I think that there was only 5 confirmed cases of COVID that were tracked back to people at the protests.
Okay, so it obviously didn't lead to an infection from there.
No, not a huge, because the thing is everyone is outside, and outside transmission is way less likely to happen than indoor transmission, and especially if everyone's wearing masks in an interaction, the odds of it spreading largely in there are not as big as saying we have 5 people in a small room talking, right? Those two things are very, very different. When you have 10,000 people spread out, kind of marching through the streets, you're breathing mostly clean air. Everyone has masks on now. A lot of people have gas masks on now because of the amount of tear gas. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a general explosion of cases, at least here in Portland, that have been tracked back to the protests.
Well, Garrison, thank you for joining us today. We really do appreciate you reporting for the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. I feel like we should check in with you again live on the streets one night just to see how things are going. I'd love to get a full sense of what daily life is like. So we'll check in with you again. Thank you very much, Garrison.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Well, a famous Sydney hotel has been rebranded and it's causing controversy. The Captain Cook Hotel in Paddington was built in 1914, but the new owners have decided to rename it the Captain. However, they say it has nothing to do with cancel culture. They just wanted a new name that sounded cooler. But not everyone is convinced. New South Wales One Nation leader Mark Latham said removing Cook's name was destroying a part of what Australia is about. Ben, what do you think? Is this cancel culture or simply a rebrand?
I think it's a bit of a rebrand, and I think just like Mark Latham has always done, is he jumps on the back of something and just stirs up a mess of crap and then runs away, and then when we forget that he exists, he comes back again and stirs up some more crap. Look, at the end of the day,
irrelevance syndrome, is that what it is, Ben?
100% for that man. That man has no idea. I have no time for that man at all. The only thing we have in common is he actually likes Big Brother. Anyway, more disturbing news, though, is that my favourite pub in Melbourne is called The Dick. So it's quite funny. And their bottle shop is called The Dick Liquor. And they've changed it now. And they've stopped calling it The Dick Liquor because of the amount of people stopping and, getting photos and everything.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
I'm a big fan of the Dick Liquor, so I don't understand why they've changed it. Anyway, sometimes what I'm trying to say is we need to rebrand things, and we don't know the whole reason why. But I'm outraged about the Dick Liquor.
But what do we think about the fact Captain Cook has a long history with this country?
Yeah.
Is it a situation, Robbo, where we should take his name off things, or do we have to accept that with significant people in history, there are issues because they were at different times? Does this mean we keep going forward until everything is a bland line and nothing can be remembered or talked about because someone gets upset about everything?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Rob. Look, I don't think that's where we should be heading. We've said on this show before, I've said on the show before that we can have the statues to Captain Cook and people like that, but we also need to have the equivalent First Australians statues as well. So I don't think that we should erase them from our history, but I believe that there should be more balance in our history, and that's a very important thing. Can I say, though, Sydney, I believe Sydney is Latin for wanker. So lots of wankers live in Sydney. Like, that's what Sydney is. Let's just be honest there. Oh, both of you very quiet. Oh, you suck-ups. Anyway, I
I'm
actually
from
really
Sydney.
did.
What?
Well,
Oh, you hate Sydney still. Oh my God. That's right. You went out for an expensive latte once, or a turmeric latte, or whatever the frickin' hell you had, and you still are upset that they charge you like $8 for it in Paddington. Isn't that what happened?
It's just no. Well, no. It's just that Sydney people are.
It's that, isn't
full of
it?
Sydney people.
Is it
No,
turmeric?
it's because of that. But I would suggest, though, that changing the name from Captain Cook to the Captain, I actually really do believe him, the owner of the pub. I really believe that he wants it cooler. There's a cooler logo, and the other thing is he can't get rid of the stone logo, essentially, that's on the top of the pub anyway, that still says the Captain Cook Hotel, because it's heritage listed. So he can't touch it. But he can rename the social media and the menus and things like that.
Can't touch
What are you
that.
singing? Oh, yeah, very good. I love the singing voice. It's so soothing. What I was going to say,
Robbo,
though,
sorry, what's wrong?
we've interrupted him. He was only... Oh, look, let him finish his orgasm. Go.
It was just meant to be underneath what you were doing.
But it wasn't even the tune, though. I would have gone, you can't touch this. Ding,
What do you mean it wasn't the tune? I went dun 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 dun. Can't touch
That's
this.
not the tune. Oh my God.
What's the tune then?
Dun, 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 dun. Hold on.
No, what are you talking about?
really
You're
quickly.
doing some kind of fairground attraction song. Dun 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 dun.
Here we go.
Dun,
MC Hammer, dude.
dun,
Here we go.
dun, dun,
No.
dun,
Oh my
dun,
God.
dun.
Oh my, not even close. You're like going dun 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 dun. dun. Can't touch this. You can't touch this.
Oh, sorry. Literally lost my mind. Anyway, can we just mention something? Can you imagine if, like, Captain Cook just all of a sudden, like, Encino Man style, like he just came into today's society, or like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, we went in that telephone booth and brought Captain Cook to today, you know, what it would be like to talk to this man. This man would be a crazy, crazy Neanderthal. And I'm really sorry to all those people out there, you know, that are loving their history and probably have rewritten history in their mind and have turned Captain James Cook into something that he's probably not. But I think we sometimes do need to remove things. Think about, like, Margaret Court. You know, Margaret Court's an LGBTI bigot, and they had an arena named after her. And while she was a great athlete, now that we know she's a crazy bigot, we should just change that arena to Tina Arena. Like, sometimes we need
The
to
Tina
change the name.
Arena. No, look, I got to say, I don't know about the Margaret Court thing. I don't agree with her views at all, but she was a significant figure in tennis. And this is the big thing. This is the big issue we face going forward. That when you find out the views of someone, does that change everything? Can we not split her personal views from her triumph on the field, on the tennis court?
Well, look, I like where we've gone here, and I've taken it there myself, so I'm really happy with that. But I would say that, yeah, we should change things. Like, I think people like Margaret Court and Captain James Cook, you know, when we find out, you know, spoiler alert, that they're kind of weirdos, then I think we don't celebrate them anymore, and we can change some of that stuff. We don't stop learning the history of it. We don't stop teaching our children that. Like, that's still a part of the history books, but we probably just don't continue to, you know, worship their statues in some weird way.
Does anyone go and worship a statue? Oh, the Margaret Court statue, the tennis.
Wait. I promise this
Probably.
is not, I don't want you to accuse me of being sinister here, Ben. I'm just asking you a question.
Okay, keep going. Alrighty.
Are you part of, and proudly so possibly, are you part of the cancel culture? Like, if someone said a bad tweet 8 years ago, and, you know, they were 20 when they said it, they're now 28, they said a really gross tweet about either, you know, black people or gay people or whatever, but they were 20 and now they're 28 and they haven't said it since. Are you still part of that kind of idea where they need to be cancelled?
No, that's crazy talk. Like, as in, the three of us wouldn't even be allowed anywhere near a camera and allowed to speak in any form of media if we dug up all the stuff that we'd banged on about on our Twitters or all the crap that we've said in our careers so far. So, look, I think it's like an individual situation. But with Captain James Cook, you know, we have to acknowledge the fact that he was a large part to do with the genocide of this country. So they need to acknowledge that. And also with Margaret Court, it's not like she once came out and said, oh, I don't like the lesos. She's continuously made really negative and uneducated and really bizarre, outdated opinions, really tone-deaf opinions. So it's like it's an ongoing thing. So then why would we celebrate her?
She's obviously
anymore?
a lesbian in hiding. No, I'm joking.
Tennis is a very lesbian sport.
How many times, though,
isn't it?
in history have we seen conservative commentators and politicians go absolutely against gay issues only to be found out to be actually gay? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Not Margaret Court. Not Margaret Court.
Like who?
Hey, look,
Who?
I want to... Oh, British politicians, American politicians. Like,
Oh.
seriously, it's a huge thing. Google it. I want to
once
finish
was
on
told
the
that Paul
most
Keating was
important...
gay.
Sorry?
I was once told that Paul Keating was gay.
Yeah, I don't
anyone
think
heard
we
that
should
one?
actually start naming names and allegedlys, and that's just not true. It's not.
Oh, I didn't say it was true. Like, I absolutely don't say that's true, so I don't want to jump on that at all. So, but I just want to say that, you know, oh, look, Abby's giving me the wind-up. Actually, are you all doing charades? It's a clock. It's a movie. Oh, stop talking. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
All right, I want to bring you to the biggest news story of the day because the internet is outraged, I say. This time it's about, wait for it, fairy bread. Oklahoma father of three, Bo Coffrin, posted a video on TikTok with a new take on the iconic Australian favourite. See if you can work out what has outraged his Aussie followers.
Here's how to make a fairy bread sandwich. These originally became popular around New Zealand and Australia. They use butter. I like peanut butter. So spread that peanut butter on. Then you're going to want to dump some of your favorite sprinkles on top. Take a cutter and cut out your favorite shape. Hearts and stars both work well. Throw that top piece on. Put it on a plate, serve to your kids, and you're done.
The anger came from the use of peanut butter and sprinkles. Comments flowed thick and fast, such as, "That's a war crime, fail," and "Oh God, no, 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 no." I've got to say, food should evolve. One of the things I learned from this guy is using the cutout, having the fairy bread, because in Australia we do the triangles, the fairy bread's just on top, and we just have it open. I actually like the idea of a little cutout exposing the fairiness of the bread. What do you think,
Hey,
Robbo?
hang on a second. Was fairy bread named after you? Because you are seriously... Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, I think that those sandwiches are different. I've never seen them before, but we should just call them what they are. Diabetes biscuits.
Well, that's that is true. But look, can everyone get a grip? This is ridiculous. Who cares how, like, some people make the spaghetti bolognese one way, other people make it another way. Piss off. I can't stand the internet sometimes. They are full of idiots. Like, this is essentially their version of fairy bread. Hey, guess what? Australians don't have a trademark on it, you bloody idiots. So I'm assuming that none of these people, you know, make a hamburger or anything like that, because are they making the hamburger exactly like McDonald's? Probably not. These stupid people who comment on videos like that make me sick.
But people get outraged about food because what was really funny was that I put on Facebook recently that my partner likes to grate cheese and put the grated cheese into 2-minute noodles. And I was like, that's disgusting.
Not my
Oh,
thing,
that's
but not a bad idea.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben,
Amanda,
well done.
Amanda, did you just say ooh?
Yeah.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah.
Hello.
I love how Ben's
revolting.
playing to Amanda now. That's his new thing. He's playing to Amanda. But what's Amanda saying? I mean, the boys have
Yeah, she's
talked
my
about
friend.
having a camera on Amanda, but we do have the wide
We
shot.
have.
Yeah. Actually, last night we discussed you guys switching, where you switch and Amanda does
Oh,
the
yeah,
show.
she's... Do you want to do that?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, we need to move on. Why don't we take a moment and regroup? And in our feedback, You're going to find out. We had a very big night last night doing the Eye on Big Brother video cast. It was our last one. It went for 2 hours and there was a lot of drink consumed. So if we seem a bit strange today, that's it. But one man who is very professional, always brings the news to us in a timely and nice fashion and in a very professional way is Aaron Young in the Ticker Newsroom.
I'm Aaron Young. You're watching Ticker. Now some of today's top stories. The full financial impact of Australia's response to the coronavirus crisis has been revealed by the Treasurer. Unemployment forecast to balloon to 8.75%. Australia's real GDP will fall by 3.75% this calendar year. The Treasurer now predicting the federal budget deficit will be $184 billion in 2020 and 2021. That's the largest deficit since World War II. The Victorian Premier has revealed a further 403 Victorians have tested positive to coronavirus overnight. 5 people have lost their lives. The Premier says 25% of people testing positive are aged in their 20s, calling for young people to heed the warnings and wear masks. A scientific study analysing 50 countries has found full lockdowns do not reduce the number of critical cases or overall death rate. Instead, the levels of obesity, smoking have all had an impact on the COVID-19 death rate. Apple has offered modified phones to security researchers looking for iOS weaknesses. The first time the mobile giant has granted access to its operating system. The company previously sued a research company on copyright grounds after it emulated iOS. And some good news for gamers today. Ubisoft says it won't charge more for PS5 and Xbox Series X games coming up this spring. Let's take a look at the weather map now for the remainder of today. Melbourne, a chilly day, 13 degrees and a few showers around. Sydney, a bit of sun and 19. Brisbane, 18 degrees. Perth, some cloud and 19. A sunny day and 15 for Adelaide. The market's now starting off with the ASX. After somewhat of a dip, it has entered into positive territory, up just around 0.5% around lunchtime. It took its cues from the US on Wall Street. The Dow was also up somewhat, just above 0.5%, still over the 27,000 mark. That's the latest news from Ticker. I'm Aaron Young. See you soon.
Thank you, Aaron. We will see you on Monday, of course. Now, look, if you've ever watched an episode of this very show, you'd know we simply love Big Brother. And last night, Channel 7 aired the grand finale and announced the winner.
The winner is Chad.
And Chad joins us now. Chad, winner, chicken dinner.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It was reported yesterday that you and Sophie were planning to split the money. Are you honouring that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. We split money with sharing, so if that's what I say,
Wow.
I'm not going to go against my word.
That's amazing, mate. And
That's
how are you
so
feeling this
impressive.
morning?
I'm very tired, not going to lie. I'm super, super tired. But yeah, it still hasn't really kicked in, to be honest. I guess maybe in a couple of days it will. But yeah, I'm very proud and very happy, to be honest.
As you should be.
Yeah.
So, Chad, what do you think you're going to spend the money on? We want to know that.
Well, there's two things that, before I went into the house, when I was doing the auditions, they asked me what I would do with the money, and two things were I wanted to take the boys on a Vegas trip, but that's not happening because of Corona, so we're thinking like Noosa or something like that. And the other one is to pay me Mars bills, so that's definitely going to be happening, which is awesome.
Brilliant. Lovely.
Did you talk to Kieran about what he's going to spend his money on? I mean, you've both managed to take a part of the prize money home. Does he feel like splitting his money with anyone? I can't imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to split it with me. I'll ask him.
Not likely. Chad, can I just confirm, are you giving Sophie half the money?
No, not half. So we agreed that the winner will get a little bit more than the other one, which is fair.
Do you mind me asking how much you'll get and how much she'll get?
That's a decent, trust me, it's a very, very decent amount.
More than Kieran?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Chad, you've got to be congratulated. You've won. So whatever your strategy is, you have taken out this game. But there's something, now that you've won, you don't have to please anyone, so you can lay it on the table. Because yesterday on this very show, Matt talked about your strategy and he made a bit of an allegation. I want to show you this clip. You dropped a bombshell this morning, which I feel plays into Dan's hands really well, saying Chad made a secret pact with you and Dan for the top 3, essentially dropping Sophie. And when we look back, it's a pretty big accusation that didn't play out on screen. But when we look back, Sophie did get eliminated. Was that part of the plan?
Mate, it's all I've done is told the truth. I'll say that in a court of law. I'll put my hand on the Bible and swear it. Like, you can call it accusations, call it what you want. All I've done in my interviews is answer truthfully and honestly. And you know what? Chad was playing the game too.
All right, Chad, you have the floor. Is he talking BS or did that happen?
Mate, I didn't even have to prove myself. Like, I was with Sophie from day one. Me and her was such a good team. I won 4 challenges. I gave Sophie a challenge as well to win, so I would have won 5. I gave Sophie, because she wanted Casey out. I said, do you want this one? She's like, yes, please. So I let her win that one. I gave her a challenge to Casey as well. So I would have won 6 challenges. If I wanted to backstab Sophie in front of a whole of Australia, I would have done that. But that is just so stupid. Like, I heard about this and I was just like, it's just so upsetting because I'm just like, why would you come out with this now, like this deleted scene and all this kind of thing, you know? It's bloody upsetting. And me and Sophie have spoken about this many times and we just think the same thing. We think maybe it's just their mentality, you know, of just like, I cover up bad attitude or something like that. Or, yeah, I don't know what the hell is the problem. And, you know, if people ask, what are you going to respond? I'm just going to, let them act like that. I'm not going to bite back and say, oh, this and that. If you want to act like that, then that's on you. I've got nothing to hide. You know, the show says it all. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting, mate, because it might have been a conversation you had. You know, like, no one can blame you for trying to make sure you get in the top 3 or make it look as though you were willing to do that to get an advantage. You know, like, there's a lot of strategy that would go with that.
Yeah, but like, down to the last decision to choose Dan into the top 3, even though I know that he would beat me, I just would never take Sophie out the game. Like, until the boys, hey, take Sophie out. That's just the most bloody stupidest thing ever. Yeah, and like the final 3, I chose Sophie in it as well. That's just fucking ridiculous. Me and Sophie have a good laugh about it because they message me and they say, nah, mate. Nah, I didn't say this and this and this. And then me and Soph talk to each other and like, did you get the message? And she's like, yeah, I got the message as well. And we just start laughing. And like, all right, these guys just,
troublemakers.
Yeah,
Chad,
let them do what they want to do.
How do you answer allegations that you and Sophie had minimum contact from the time the show was over to the finale?
Me and Soph, we had the first... When we got out the house, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, we had like a bit of time off just because it was like so full on. And we all had like, you know what I mean? And then after that, then we started like really talking again and stuff. So it was good. And obviously she was in Darwin, I was here. And when the show, especially when the show started, you know, we were on the phone a lot to each other and just having a laugh throughout the episode. So yeah, it's not like we did not talk to each other at all. It's just having that. You're in a house with like 6 weeks together. You need to have that bloody break from everyone. That's what we all did. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are locked together during COVID who agree with you, Chad. Not me, of course, Amanda. Not me. My wife sits right next to me, Chad. I want to ask, though, our spy said last night that you and Sophie did reconnect and there was a little bit of passion happening in both senses of the word. So it sounds like you and Sophie certainly did reconnect last night.
We definly caught up. Like, finally get to
That's not what I'm asking, Chad. I heard there was kissing.
Well, I had to go to bloody get up early for interviews and stuff. As you can see, I'm so freaking tired. So I had to smoke bomb it to everyone and just duck and slide at the hotel and go to bed.
What about that moment though with Sonia Kruger? Because look, we saw old school Sonia Kruger go a little bit bold and a little bit rogue with that question last night live on television. You know, about have you have you done the deed? And so, like, you know, is it really strange to think that all of Australia is so inquisitive and we want to know, like, what's going to happen next?
Sophie's got her parents here, you know, all the way from Netherlands. So I've got to respect that she's there in the hotel with her mum and sister. You know, so you got to be mindful of that. And I've got interviews today, so you know, that's like everyone's like, "Are you going to do the deed? You're going to do the deed?" Like, you got to be thinking of that way. You're going to be respectful.
What a gentleman!
Towards each other.
Yeah, mate, what a gentleman you are. A good Campbelltown boy. I'm so glad you've done Campbelltown proud. You've won the money.
Thanks,
You're splitting it with Sophie. Like, seriously, you have it all, Chad. You really do. You've done a great job. Thank you for being so generous with your time on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Congratulations.
I'm sorry for looking so tired.
Chad, you tired is better than me on a good day, so you're doing all right, mate. So you're fine, all right?
Oh, gosh. All right. Thanks, guys. It's been
Thank you, Chad. Good luck with everything.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate
It's
it.
the Red Life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the Red Life shot of the day.
Today we're taking you to Dam Square in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. It's a partly cloudy day with a low of 14 degrees and a high of 23 degrees as the world wakes up on the other side of the world to us. As the Netherlands wakes up, it's on the other side of the world to us. Was that better? It's the Netherlands and it's on the other side of the world and they're just waking up. Yes, okay. Let's look at some feedback. There is plenty coming through. Rod says, "Morning, boys. I have a hangover." Rod was watching our Big Brother video cast last night. We have Claire saying, "Ben, you pulled up remarkably well considering how you exited the Eye on Big Brother chat last night. Hope you are doing okay for a Thursday." Well, in fact, we're going to give Ben an early mark. We're going to let him go home.
Thank you.
Can we just show Ben quickly, Amanda? Ben, here's some feedback because it's some of it. Well, we will let you go early because you've been doing Ticket Jumpstart this morning. Rebecca says, "How are you all feeling, boys, after a great night?" On a more serious issue, Penny says, "Dan Andrews is doing the best he can. So many idiots don't follow the regulations. It's so frustrating to rely on the behaviour of others." Claire says, "Rob, it's awkward too from a female point of view to kiss on the cheek."
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find out the page because we've got so many. Jamie says there was a lot of shaking and cuddling on the Big Brother finale last night. That's a really good point. A lot of people made that commentary. They did all the social distancing for the show and then they all just hugged and kissed anyway. Jeanette says we have to have flu to help build our immunity, but we also have to be mindful that we need to distance and stay home if you have the flu. Cliff says, "Your show last night was much better than the finale." Andrew says, "Went for a walk just now. Out of all the hundreds of people I saw, only 2 didn't have masks on. Fingers crossed Melburnians do the right thing to beat this horrible virus." Peter says, "They now have army officers patrolling around the Tan in South Yarra." Michael says, "So now I have a strange urge to see a pic of a woman with her hand down her butt while she's pumping petrol." Thank you, Robbo, for that one.
No, that was
me. No, that was Rob. That was Rob.
It was Ben, was it? Sorry. Connie says, "Not true. Feds didn't come until fires were set." I don't know if that's right. Jeanette says, "Protest, but 2 wrongs don't make a right. The more you do, the more the police will up the situation. When will it stop and be more peaceful?" That's a really good point. Rod says, "Sadly, the real Handmaid's Tale begins. Welcome to Gilead." Olga says, This I think is enlightening as what these protests have reduced cities to absolutely disgusting."
Oh, Olga's a wonderful woman. Olga, thank you for commenting. Thank you for watching, you beautiful woman.
Say
hi to Greg for me.
Okay. Amanda says, when new management comes in, it really is common to change the name. This is a big deal about nothing. Good point, Amanda. Thank you for all your feedback. We absolutely do love it. Well, it's time to talk movies and pop culture with our dear friend Joe Casamento. Ben, before we do that, off you go. Go and
Get well, Benny. Feel better.
Best exit ever.
Ever.
Ever. I wonder if Amanda can just bring Joe in and, can we just do a transition to Joe?
Not really.
Hey, there you go.
Joe's not there. There she is. Well, it's time to talk pop culture with Joe Casamento. Hello, Joe.
Hello, fellas. How are we? Big night, huh?
Hello, Joe.
Oh, Joe, it was huge. Ben has worked very hard. He has been doing the Ben Robin Robbo show, Eye on Big Brother, and Ticker Jumpstart. He really does. Yeah. This weekend, he just needs to sleep. So he needs to go into an induced coma. Look, Kim Kardashian has broken her silence about the drama surrounding her husband, Kanye West. Can you tell us? We have been covering this story, but there have been so many more developments. Bring us up to speed.
Okay, so you obviously know Kanye's been having a little bit of a meltdown. I'm not sure if you've seen the footage of him at the rally last weekend.
Yes,
which was his first for the president. Okay, so you've already seen that, so I won't cut to that one. So as we saw during that rally last weekend, he kind of started crying. He talked about everything from God to slavery, but also including in that, he also said how he was the product of abortion in terms of his mother had almost had him aborted, and he also spoke in that speech about how he had wanted his firstborn with Kim Kardashian to be aborted as well. But then after all of this has happened on Monday and Tuesday, there were a heap of crazy, outrageous tweets, which have since been deleted, in which he claimed that the Kardashian family, including mum Kris, were trying to have him locked away, and also that he'd been trying to get a divorce from his wife Kim for a number of years. So this is all leading to a very crazy path of unraveling sort of destruction. So in the last 24 hours, Kim has actually come out and put a story on her Instagram page, which is very detailed. It's 3 or 4 pages long. And basically it says, and I think we have a copy of it here, that's right. She talks about the stigmas about mental health. As many of you know, Kanye has bipolar disorder. She says in the post, anyone who has this or has a loved one in their life who does knows how incredibly complicated and painful it is to understand. She goes on to say that those that understand mental illness know that the family is powerless unless the member is a minor, alluding to unless he's a child, she can't have him committed. But calling him brilliant but complicated, Kim also says living with bipolar does not diminish or invalidate his dreams and his creative ideas. No matter how big or unobtainable they may feel to some, this is part of his genius. And that those who are close to Kanye know his heart and understand his words sometimes don't align with his intentions. She's clearly standing by him. She's showing her support. She's firmly doing a Tammy Wynette, standing by her man. I think she'll be ready to drop everything when he does want her by his side again. But it sounds like he needs some very serious help, he really is unraveling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right
and Joe, he's still tweeting. Let's go to the live Twitter feed, please, Amanda.
Live tweets.
And we can see that he's done YZY team, and he's showing another photo of everyone that's with him at the ranch. We know that people have flown to him since this episode has begun. Yesterday, 21 hours ago, that happened 42 minutes ago.
Wow.
Says the future president. He said a little earlier. This one, D&D with child, GD birth, RN, NGDZ center. I don't understand what any of this means, but this is the kind of stuff we're seeing him just put on. And it's interesting. Someone in a response post just over here, has actually said, my manic episodes generally last up to 2 weeks, but can go up to a month. It's no telling when Kanye will come down off his episode. Takes a lot of patience and kindness. Kanye isn't the enemy, his disorder is. Try and separate the two and treat him with kindness despite his illness. What a great message to put on there. Anyway, so that's the live Twitter feed right now, Joe, and it is very concerning.
It is, and the act that Kim and her parents did try and get him committed with is called the 50-51, and it's the same one that Britney Spears was put into. A sort of induced, they put them into an induced sleep, I guess, with, to try and just get them through that manic period. So it's an interesting one because, he did announce his presidential campaign. I hope it shows signs that perhaps he's not the best candidate for the job, and I hope Americans are sort of watching with wide eyes. You never know what's going to happen there, as we've seen, as history has shown us. But also we just hope he gets the help he needs. And I guess it is a very good, there's no more high-profile couple to bring to attention mental health disorders, is there?
Absolutely.
No, that's exactly right, Joe and Rob. But I've just read here that he's actually deleted all of the tweets that he did yesterday, at least the really explosive ones. So he's done that. It is a sad time, especially we just hope that whatever is happening, we can find out the truth and he gets the support that he needs. Sorry, Joe. So moving on from that, if we can, we've been very focused on Big Brother, but you have actually fallen in love with another reality TV franchise. What is it?
I have. I'm kind of ashamed to admit. I've been watching with my girls Bachelor in Paradise. I'm using it as a bit of comic relief, can we say, while we're cooking or cleaning up. But the last night was too funny. I had to bring it to your attention. I know your eyes were on Big Brother, but there was another meltdown of sorts going on, a very serious meltdown in Paradise. This time from Jamie. I don't know if you remember him. He was the five-stage clinger from Abby's season of The Bachelor. Well, now it seems he's developed a serious man crush on his mate Tim, who, can I just say, Jamie's 40 and Tim's 27. Let's take a look at some of this footage, and I will explain it in a sec, but it is very, very funny.
You're not going out like this on me, man. I'm your best mate. It's about you, bro. It is about me. It's not you. It's me. I need you here. Yeah, I know you do, but I'm not staying here. You can survive on your own. I can't. Did you know I came here because of you? Tim, please, bro. You'll live. Tim, please. You know how much it means to me, bro. I'll see you on the outside. I'm not dying, bro. I'm not dying. I'm not dead. Shut up, bro. You'll be right. You'll be right. Don't let me on me home, man. I'm not doing to me, bro. I'm not staying here, man. Dude.
Can I ask a question? Was he leaving the show or was he just leaving that room?
No, Tim had threatened to leave the show because he'd caused a bit of a stir the night before and he was feeling bad about himself. So he'd threatened to leave the show, and his best mate Jamie there, who was seriously losing it over the fact he was leaving. But the funniest thing happened after this. I have to fill you in. Bear with me. But Tim then went to another bureau and sort of chatted with his girlfriend in the making, Brittany, who was from Honey Badger's episode. And so he hadn't actually left the island, but Jamie went to his room and he wasn't there, so he thought he'd left. So he then packed his bag, and I don't know if you've ever been to Fiji, but it's a really long walk up those paths, up to the highway or out the front of the resort. And so he did the big walk, crying, I can't stay here without Tim. And then he got to the gates and one of the producers stopped him and said, honestly, mate, he's still here. And he's like, really? Anyway, so then he had to do the walk of shame backwards. It was like very funny. Can I just say, these two are not there for each other. They're actually, Jamie's there for some girls and so is Tim. So it looks like it's
but Jamie's
else.
a clinger. I did watch that season that he was in, and he was always like, when will she realise she's mine and she doesn't love these other men? She loves me. She loves me. That's what
I know.
He's
very emotional. He's very emotional. He's very empathetic, I think, and he really, his heart really feels a lot.
He's like your special friend, Mike Willis. He had, I've forgotten the joke.
Well,
I forgot. It's such a good joke, and it's a Doug Anthony All Stars joke. Mike Willis. He had who was the kid in the wheelchair?
Oh, Quinton.
Oh, Quinton.
Kieran?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Quinton. Mike,
Quinton.
Willis,
Yes, Mike. He's our. Jamie is our very special friend. You know, Mike Willis, he had Quinton. We have Jamie. It's an old
We'll cut this
stuff.
out. We'll cut this out before we put it onto the air. Snip, 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 snip.
Joe, we
I'm
are
glad someone
fast.
else forgets
You know, Joe,
jobs.
we've given you like 15 minutes and we're still running out of time. But you had a look at the very excellent Mr. Dundee, which has some huge names in it. Is it a clap or a slap?
Oh my God, I'm ashamed. I'm sad to say it's a slap. Seriously,
Of course it
why aren't
is.
some things left in the past? They really should be. I wanted to love this, but it's just a rehash, but in the wrong era. It's like he's misplaced, not in location this time. He's just misplaced. He's an octogenarian, you know, and he plays on the fact that he's kind of out of touch. And should we take a, you know, that was the
just
original.
talk us about it because we've got like 20 seconds to go. So,
Okay. Well, you know what? Watch the first few minutes. It's got a delicious montage of the meaning of Crocodile Dundee and what he meant to Australia and how he put us on the map. And then you can press stop. I'm ashamed to say it's really torturous. It's like watching a train wreck.
well, Joe, thank you very much for being with us and helping us close the show. As Ben is currently, I've got an update from Ben. He's in the bath at the moment. We have to go. It's past 2 o'clock. Ticket is waiting. Joe, we will see you next week. Thanks for another big week of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. See you on Monday.
Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo.